Every countertop starts with a vision. And when the homeowner finds the perfect look, you naturally want to provide the perfect fit. The contents of this video are designed to help you achieve it, with step-by-step instructions for installing a beautiful and durable granite countertop from VT Industries. To complete the installation of a granite countertop from VT, you will need the following tools: a 6-foot level, a 2-foot level, a tape measure, a set of lifting handles, suction cups, a Makita variable speed grinder, a granite blade for the grinder, granite polishing pads, a Velcro backer pad, diamond core bits, an adhesive application gun and adhesives, a respirator with a removable filter, an optional seam leveling machine, and an optional sink mounting device, tapered wood shims, flat shim stock, a utility knife, a caulk gun, razor blades, painter's tape, acetone, granite cleaner, paper towels, sink saver, and a repair kit. To reduce the risk of injury, proper safety equipment should be worn at all times while performing a granite countertop installation. This includes safety goggles or glasses to protect your eyes, earplugs, steel toe boots, and leather gloves to protect your hands from cuts while handling sharp objects. You should also wear a respirator with removable filter discs specifically designed to block VOCs, since they may be present in dust and the seam adhesives. Latex gloves should also be worn when working with seam adhesive. Before you begin, it's important to perform some basic planning and inspection steps to help assure a safe, smooth, and accurate installation. Step 1. Check your cabinetry for level and plane, and attach flat shims to the cabinetry to make up for discrepancies. Final adjustments will need to be made once the countertop pieces are set in place. For granite, a single 1/4-inch shim is the maximum amount you should shim. Always show the homeowner the void created when a countertop is shimmed up. They may choose to have their cabinetry re-leveled or have you set their countertops out of level. Step 2. Check your cabinetry for high spots. A high spot in a cabinet causes the weight of the countertop to create pressure in a single spot. This single point pressure can cause a countertop to crack if the area around the pressure point is left unsupported. Step 3. Test fit your sink. Heavier sinks, such as cast iron, may need to be installed before the countertops are placed on the cabinetry. A sink-based cabinet with a center support bar may prevent you from fitting a sink after the countertops have been put in place. There are 2 different methods for setting a sink in a granite countertop: cabinet-mounted sink supports or cut-in sink clips. Cabinet-mounted sink supports need to be installed prior to the countertops being in place. The sink sits on top of threaded bolts inside the sink supports. The bolts are threaded upwards to secure the sink tightly to the bottom of the countertop. Cut-in sink clips are attached in the shop. Once the countertop is installed, threaded bolts are placed in the pre-cut slots, and a sink clip is held on the bolt with a wing nut. The wing nut is tightened to pull the sink into place. A sink puller can be used to raise the sink into place, while the bolts on either method are tightened into place. Always run a bead of silicone across the entire top of the sink before pulling it into place. If any silicone squeezes out, clean it off quickly with dry paper towels and clean off any residue with a light acetone wash. Use clear silicone for stainless steel sinks and match the sink color for all the rest. Granite countertop pieces need to be set on the cabinets vertically and then carefully laid down to the horizontal position. As soon as a piece is laid down, make sure to check underneath for any voids that need to be filled by a shim. When sliding 2 pieces of stone together, Make sure to put a protective buffer in between them so they do not bump together and chip. For sale signs work great for this. Once the countertop pieces are in place, the level can be checked both side to side and front to back. Plane can be determined by placing the 6-foot level or a long piece of backsplash over the top of two pieces that are to be seamed together. The pieces can then be shimmed up until no gaps show between the bottom of the backsplash or level and the top of the counter. When this is confirmed, the pieces are in plane. Once the pieces are in plane, their level can be fine-tuned until they are ready to be joined together with the seam adhesive. A razor blade should be run across the seam to check for level. If the razor blade doesn't catch on the stone on either side of the seam, it is ready for adhesive. Space the pieces apart about 1/8 inch. Place your seam setters near your working area and test them to make sure they are ready for use. Using the adhesive gun, apply glue into the seam. Make sure the adhesive sinks down and covers both sides of the pieces to be seamed. You may need to use a razor blade to push the glue down into the gap between the pieces. Use the seam setter to pull the seam together and fine-tune the level. Keep watch on the seam until the glue has dried, at which point the seam setters can be removed and all residual glue can be cleaned off. Wash lightly in acetone. Tape off about 1/8 inch on each side of the seam and apply a thin layer of seam adhesive in between the tape. This layer will cover any adhesive shrinkage that may occur. Allow the adhesive to dry completely and remove the tape. Then, holding a razor blade completely vertical, shave off the extra seam adhesive until the blade is down to the stone. Clean any adhesive residue off with granite cleaner. Granite countertops will be secured to cabinet tops with silicone adhesive. The best practice is to use a silicone adhesive as close to cabinet color as possible. Before gluing between the bottom of the countertop and the cabinet on the front of the face frame, always place a strip of painter's tape wherever it might be possible to get silicone on the cabinetry. When adhering the countertop to the cabinet with silicone, fill every possible meeting place between the cabinet and the bottom of the countertop. Always move the backsplash in the vertical position. Move into place, taking care not to slide the backsplash on the countertop surface, as this may scratch the countertop. If you have to trim the backsplash to length, always double-check your measurements before cutting. Also, double-check to make sure you're not cutting off an end that has been polished. Place a dollop of silicone every 2 feet on the back of the splash piece and move into place. If two pieces need to be seamed together, try to hide the seam location behind a faucet or fixture. Adhere the pieces together with seam adhesive when they are sitting against an internal wall. When they are on an external wall, you'll have to use a flexible seam such as a color-matched silicone. Place painter's tape on the backsplash about 1/8 inch above the bottom and place tape on the countertop piece about 1/8 inch away from the front of the backsplash. Run a bead of silicone into the space between the tape and smooth off with your finger. Then remove the tape and smooth the edges with your fingertip. The base of your backsplash is not sealed. If you need to drill faucet or accessory holes on the job site, always lay out the spacing and have the homeowner approve the placement. Always use a drilling guide to avoid the core bit leaving the hole and scratching the top of the counter. Roll the bit from side to side as you drill to avoid the core bit being pinched in the hole by the dust buildup. Drill on a slow speed and allow the core bits to do most of the work. When drilling in granite, always use water to keep the stone and the core bit cool. Drill a little and then dip the bit in a cup of water. Placing ice cubes in the core bit also works well. Use a shop vac near the drill to suck up any dust that may be created during the process. Cutting stone is essentially the opposite of cutting wood. When cutting wood, you push the saw blade away from you. With stone, you pull the saw blade toward you so that you take heat away from the stone. The dust that is expelled in the process aids in taking this heat away from the stone. Granite may be cut dry, but applying water during the cutting process will help to keep the stone cool and will also lessen the dust. This may be done with a spray bottle or a hose. Always use a GFIC outlet when working with water and electricity at the same time. You may need to trim a backsplash piece to length and polish one of the ends. If so, you will use your grinder with a Velcro backer and polishing pads. Polishing needs to be done wet to prevent the surface from burning and discoloring. Work on the lowest speed with your grinder and start with the lowest numbered polishing pad. Work through each pad and use every one, including the buff pads at the end of the process. Make sure you have good contact with the polishing pad and that you are polishing with the entire surface of the pad. Uneven contact will cause some areas to be polished, while others will remain dull. To repair an edge chip, use cyanoacrylate or Ca glue to fill the void. If the chip is large, glue the chipped piece of the material back into place and then polish the edge down with your polishing pad. For a small chip, fill the void with Ca glue and shave the excess off with a razor. To repair a top chip, simply fill the void with the Ca glue and then remove the excess glue by shaving the surface down with a razor. Granite has been proven to be a durable, low-maintenance product, but as with any natural material, periodic care and maintenance is recommended to assure its lasting beauty. The following tips will help you assure years of high performance from your granite surface. There are many products that can be used to clean granite tops. Always check the label of any cleaning product to verify that it is acceptable to use with these surfaces. All cleaner residues must be completely rinsed off to avoid hazing the shine and beauty of the surface. Sealing granite once a year is recommended. Again, there are many sealers available on the market. Follow the manufacturer's instructions when applying. When properly installed, a granite countertop from VT Industries will provide years of stunning natural beauty and low-maintenance durability and performance.